The movie starts with a patient called John Trent being forcefully brought to a psychiatric facility diagnosed with schizophrenia. He yells at the staff and fights them violently, claiming he isn't insane. The next morning, Dr. Wren visits John Trent, and it is revealed that the whole room in his clothes are filled with drawings of the Christian cross. John requests Dr. Wren for a cigarette and starts narrating how he got here. John states he was a private freelance insurance investigator dealing with fraud and faulty claims. Recently, he was approached by an insurance company to investigate the disappearance of a famous horror novelist called Sutter Cane. When John is having lunch with his boss to discuss their case about arcane publishers, strangely, a lunatic man with an axe tries to attack him. The police shot the lunatic, and later the news reports showed that there had been similar violent attacks outside multiple stores by Sutter Cane fans. The next morning, John meets the head of Cane's publishing company, Mr. Harglow. He states that Cane went missing 2 months ago and had been in contact with his agent, the same lunatic who tried to attack John earlier. Later, the editor Linda Stiles informs John that Cane's books have a strange effect on less stable readers, causing disorientation, memory loss, and severe paranoid reactions. Linda states that Cane's work became strange 1 year ago as he claimed his writing was real, not fiction. So, she states they must find Cane to publish his new book, and John leaves. When he gets into a dark alley, he notices the posters of Cane's latest book called HOBB'S. Soon, he hears groaning sounds and discovers a police officer attacking a man. As he looks at John, he questions whether he also wants some, and John leaves. The next morning, John goes to a local store and buys all the books of Cane. But strangely, a young man approaches John, telling him that he sees you, but John looks unfazed and leaves. That night, John starts reading Cane's novels, but he starts getting nightmares and hallucinations, so he stops. Just as John puts the books down, he realizes something. He notices a strange pattern on the book covers, indicating a secret map. John assumes that Cane went to a secret place in New Hampshire called HOBB'S. So Mr. Harglow sends John with his editor Linda to find Mr. Cane. As they start the journey, John drives while Linda sleeps. But at night, when John is asleep and Linda drives, she faces a strange phenomenon. At first, a young boy strolls past them on a bicycle, but a few seconds later, the bicycle person turns into a creepy old man. As Linda feels sleepy, she accidentally hits the old man, and Linda freaks out. But when they leave the car to check on him, he rides off looking unharmed. Linda starts driving again when suddenly the road disappears. The car enters a secret tunnel, seemingly passing above thunderhead storm clouds. Interestingly, it's morning, and they have reached the HOBB'S. John feels surprised to find they are at HOBB'S now and wonders how Linda knows this place. But she claims she doesn't. It's just a fictional place from Cane's novels. They then visit a hotel from HOBB'S Horror, and Linda wonders how this place is empty as it used to be crowded with strange-looking creatures. A group of kids accompanied by a black dog pass from there, but only Linda sees them and gets disturbed. They then enter the hotel and meet an old lady called Mrs. Pickman, who welcomes them as they book a room. Linda recognizes all the surroundings from the novels, but John assures her that they are not living inside a novel, which is just fiction. Later, they come across a black church building, and Linda recognizes it from the novels, called a black church. This place has been a habitat for evil creatures, which cause chaos and madness. Suddenly, a group of men arrive outside the church with loaded guns, demanding Cane return their kid Johnny. The church door opens, revealing Johnny followed by Cane, but a group of hunting dogs suddenly appear and charge at protesting men who run away. When Linda and John return to their room, he calls the whole act staged and blames Linda for being part of this fraud. However, she assures him that sending Cane away for a while was part of the plan, but he never got back, and this whole scenario isn't staged. According to his new book, Linda believes they live in Cane's fiction, so they must find the book to escape. but John doesn't believe her and decides to leave. Linda desperately tries to stop him by seducing him, but John doesn't fall for her trap and leaves. At reception, he meets an old lady who behaves strangely when John overhears her husband's groaning sounds. He is surprised when Linda leaves in a car, leaving him behind. John starts scrolling down the streets and enters a bar where an old man from earlier advises John to leave soon because this place is turning evil. He explains that Cain messed with the church and something evil was released into the world, which initially took away their kids, but will spread. But John calls it a bluff and doesn't believe that man. Meanwhile, Linda comes across a group of kids looking creepy who surround her and inform her that she is their mummy who is supposed to take care of them. She creeps out and enters the black church, where she meets Cain, who welcomes her to read his new book. He claims his work used to be fiction, but some creatures have helped him make it all real. As he shows her his script, Linda gets flabbergasted and gets strange visions. Her eyes bleed. Cain explains that slimy creatures are ready to enter this world through a wooden creek and points toward a door. Linda gets disoriented and hugs Cain while his body is shown from the back as half human, half monster. However, John worries about Linda when she doesn't return after a while. When she gets back, Linda states that she doesn't feel good and advises John never to read the last book by Cain. As she acts crazy, John leaves her to call Mrs. Pickman, but he hears the groaning sounds of her husband, only to find out that she is killing him with an axe. John gets scared and runs back to his room, and he spots Linda's long, slimy tentacles outside the bathroom floor. However, she comes out fine, but she forcefully pushes him through the door, and John leaves in his car. As he looks back, Linda has fully transformed into a monster. As he reaches the city center, the road is full of children singing and surrounding Linda when a man with an axe tries to attack John, so he gets inside a bar. The old man from earlier informs John that his 5-year-old murdered his wife and injured him. But John doesn't believe him and states that it isn't fiction. But the man kills himself, saying that Cain wrote him this way. John gets upset and leaves the bar, but is surprised to find Linda inside his car. She doesn't want to let him drive away, so she eats his car keys. John starts the car with a screwdriver as the mutated mob approaches them and leaves. On their way, Linda tries to kiss him, stating that Cain wrote this, but John pushes her away and gets out of his car. There, he notices an old man from earlier on a bicycle again, but Linda gets his attention as she makes strange sounds. Her neck gets twisted, and she walks like a wild animal. So John leaves her and drives away, but unfortunately, he keeps getting back to the town center and getting chased by monstrous-looking people with torches and guns. He soon crashes into another vehicle while trying to save Linda and surprisingly wakes up in a Catholic confessional. He meets Cain, who states that the popularity of his new book will unleash an ancient race of monstrous beings on Earth. Cain further informs John that he is merely a character of fiction from Cain's story, but John doesn't believe him. Cain states that he is the new God, and his book is the new Bible, which John must deliver to arcane publishers. Cain opens a portal for John to return to reality. Then he goes near the slimy door and tears open his face like a piece of paper, ripping a hole of darkness. When John sees monstrous creatures emerging from the slimy door, he runs away for his life, followed by monsters. He later finds himself lying on a country road and asks a kid about HOBB'S, but he doesn't know about such a place. In the following days, John keeps receiving the book by Cain, but he keeps burning it off. As he decides to meet Arcane Publishers' head, he finds out that there has never been any Linda in that company, and John delivered the book months ago, which is a huge success, and now a movie will soon be released with a name in the mouth of darkness. John gets overwhelmed and goes to the street only to find it filled with Cain fans promoting his latest book. Meanwhile, Voice on Radio states that there has been an increase in acts of violence, and globally, there is a pandemic of paranoid schizophrenia. John comes across a boy with bleeding eyes, So John asks him if he likes the book and kills the boy with an axe. This resulted in him getting into a mental hospital. The scene shifts to John, narrating his story to Dr. Wren, who thinks John is insane and leaves. A few days later, John wakes up with strange noises, and his door gets unhinged, so he goes out to see all the hospital residents slaughtered. He hears news on the radio that mutant creatures have overrun the world and are pursuing mental disorders. He goes inside a cinema to watch the film by Kane and laughs hysterically as he discovers he is the lead character, but soon his laughter turns into despair when he realizes he is just a character of fiction. In the Mouth of Madness, released in 1995, directed by John Carpenter, produced on a budget of approximately $8 million. The character Sutter Cane, a best-selling horror author in the film whose books start to affect reality, is likely inspired by Stephen King, given King's immense popularity as a horror writer. While the film did not significantly outperform its budget at the box office, it has since gained a following and is appreciated for its philosophical themes and eerie atmosphere. It's considered by many as one of Carpenter's underrated gems. In the Mouth of Madness is a testament to John Carpenter's versatility and creativity as a filmmaker, blending psychological horror with philosophical themes to create a film that challenges its audience's perceptions of reality and fiction. Please subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next recap.